coated happily for quite a while, this simple life of country folk. Today, stage stars are lesser known than film or TV stars. But in the 19th century, to be a star of the stage was to be world famous, and to be a woman star of the stage was to be a phenomenon. Sophie Tucker, born in Russia to a Jewish family, was one of those stars. Arriving in New York City in around 1905, Tucker was eager to perform on the stage. As Shirley Staples writes in Male-Female Comedy Teams in American Vaudeville, 1865 to 1932, in fall 1906, eager to go into vaudeville, Tucker went to William Hammerstein's to learn about show business, to a matinee which was composed mostly of women. Sophie decided then that, quote, "There's no two ways about it. You've got to dress smart. Then the women in the audience rave about you. If you ever got on the stage, think of your clothes, look smart. It helps put you over," end quote. Tucker played a major part in revolutionizing the theater in the late 19th century. From the 1890s until the 1920s, vaudeville, the dominant stage for popular entertainment in the United States, became synonymous with names such as Tucker, Al Jolson, Nora Bayes, Bert Williams, William Morris, Harry Houdini, E.F. Albee, Sarah Bernhardt, and many others. In Nicholas Gebhardt's Vaudeville Melodies, Popular Musicians and Mass Entertainment in American Culture, 1870 to 1929, he writes that, quote, "By 1915, its reach extended across the globe, taking in every continent and performance tradition, and incorporating thousands of performers from every branch of show business. Its phenomenal success relied on a huge network of theaters, each one part of a circuit and administered from centralized booking offices, most of which were based in cities such as New York, Chicago, San Francisco, London, and Paris." In this episode, we explore the origins of vaudeville and what's commonly known as the democratization of the theatrical stage that took place in the late 19th century. This moment, which really begins in the 1880s, not only ushers in a new kind of theater, it also creates opportunities for white women, black men, and women to perform both in and out of blackface on the stage. How was vaudeville different from the minstrel show? As discussed in episode 1, in its first decades in the 1820s and 1830s, minstrelsy was rather unpredictable, but during the 1840s, a set three-part structure evolved, consisting of jokes and songs in the first part, an olio of stump speeches and other variety acts in the middle, and a plantation skit in the final section. What separated the characters in the minstrel show from each other were speech, dress, and geographic location. Endmen played tambourine and bones. They were sometimes called tambo and brudderbones, and were portrayed as being of lower class by costume and vernacular. They were sometimes also called, quote, plantation N-words, end quote. These characters wore satin suits, oversized ties, and curly wigs, and they engaged in jokes and quips with the smartly attired white interlocutor, who commanded center stage. Also called the middleman, the interlocutor served as a bogus mouthpiece for high culture. His dress and speech were upper class, and the plot usually centered on the N-men putting down the interlocutor. As the popularity of the minstrel show's format began to wane, vaudeville theater, which featured a mixture of specialty acts, such as a variety show, burlesque comedy, song and dance, and blackface entertainment, became the latest rage by the 1870s. The most glaring difference between minstrelsy and vaudeville was the democratization of the theatrical stage. As Alison Kibler explains, song and dialogues in the minstrel show sometimes focused on grotesque portrayals of the northern black dandy, Zip Coon, and the happy errant slave, Jim Crow. Minstrel show traditions were not simply replicated in vaudeville, their meanings shifted, sometimes dramatically, at other times subtly. When white women, adopted racial masquerades in vaudeville." End quote. Ultimately, when vaudeville appeared, it was unique because unlike the legitimate theater, which referred to a performance wholly by the spoken word, vaudeville acts came from all ethnic groups and genders, in all shapes and sizes, ranging from the respectable thespian to the circus quote-unquote freak, from opera singers to chorus performers. All-female vaudeville embraced the burnt cork tradition of minstrelsy. Girl acts, as they were often called, put on blackface and wore the costumes of minstrelsy, just like their all-male counterparts had done during the heydays of the minstrel show. One of the first all-female blackface acts to perform on the vaudeville stage was M.B. Levitt's Madame Renz's Female Minstrels, created in 1870. Combining women in tights, minstrelsy, vaudeville, and burlesque, Madame Renz's Female Minstrels was an all-woman cast that predominantly displayed their legs and bodies through snug-fitting tights, while performing the basic minstrel show, supplemented with special attractions of their own, such as the can-can dance. These girly shows, as they were also called, toured Canada. Gerald Lenton Young found that dozens of female minstrel troupes, including the original Renz Company, toured Ontario from 1870 onward. In 1904, Ned Wayburn's Minstrel Lasses, in a first and only appearance in Toronto, performed at Shea's Theatre. The act included 17 young women in blackface. When did black actors appear on vaudeville stages?